Hello and welcome to Auspol Explained. I am your host, David, and I'm here to help you understand the 2022 Australian federal election. And today's episode is all about taxes. What are the different policies of the Liberal National Coalition, Labor, Greens, and One Nation? And will they raise taxes? Will they cut taxes? Let's find out. I'm going to compare their policies and help you decide who you would like to vote for. At no point will I tell you who to vote for or if these are good or bad ideas. That is entirely up to you, the voter. So let's dive right in and compare those policies. The Liberal National Coalition tax policy is in part already in effect. In the latest budget, they promised a one-off payment of $250 if you're on a government support payment, and a $420 one-off cost of living payment through the low and middle income tax offset. This scheme was introduced in 2019 as a temporary measure, which is being phased out with its last financial year in 2021 to 22. It applies to people earning $126,000 or less a year, providing them between $255 to $1,080 in tax relief. So while there's a cash bonus for a bunch of Australians, it is a tax increase for them after that of $255 to $1,080. They're committed to their $158 billion Stage 3 tax cuts, a big 2019 election promise that was passed thanks to the support of Labor. Basically, what this means is from 1st of July 2024, this tax cut will come into effect and increase the 45% tax bracket from $180,000 a year to $200,000 a year. The 37% tax bracket will be abolished, and the 32.5% bracket is going to be lowered to 30%. So, everyone earning between $45,000 a year and $200,000 a year are in the same tax bracket of 30 cents to the dollar. So, if you're earning over $200,000 a year, you will have a permanent tax cut of $9,075 a year or more. The fuel excise has been temporarily cut, thanks to the 2022 budget, by 50%. Down from 44 cents a litre to 22.1 cents per litre. This has reduced the cost of petrol as a temporary measure to address the cost of living. The Liberals and Nationals have ruled out extending it past 6 months, so come 28th of September 2022, the excise will revert back and petrol will go up 22.1 cents a litre, on top of whatever price it is then. They promised to keep the tax to GDP ratio below 23.9%, which it has only ever been higher than that 4 times in the past 50 years, all of which were under John Howard, who had the highest tax to GDP ratio of any government in that 50-year period. Effectively, Scott Morrison and the Liberals are promising not to become the highest taxing government in the past 50 years. And finally, they want multinationals to pay more tax with a 15% minimum global tax rate. Labor's tax plan is no new taxes. That's it, no new taxes under Labor. Broadly speaking, they agree with the Liberals on lower taxes and the one-off payments on those on support and low middle income earners. These are all in effect because Labor voted to pass the 1, 2 and 3 stages of tax cuts introduced by the Liberals after the 2019 election. So if you're a major party voter, taxes aren't likely going to be a deciding factor between the two. Labor's tax policy is actually just an opportunity for them to 1. Reaffirm they are committed to the tax cuts they helped pass to give people earning over $45,000 a year more money and won't raise those taxes. And then 2, they are focusing on tackling the issue of wage stagnation and the pressure on the cost of living due to high inflation over the past 8 years. So their aim is to make sure that the money that people get from these tax cuts is more valuable than if inflation continues to rise at its current high rate. And finally, they want multinationals to pay more tax with a 15% minimum global tax rate, and close tax loopholes to raise more revenue. The Greens tax plan actually does have new taxes. Currently, 1 in 3 big corporations pay no tax, so the Greens plan is focusing on tax evasion and taxes for billionaires and big corporations, with the aim of raising $338 billion over the next 10 years. They want to achieve this with a new corporate super profits tax of 40% on big corporations. The current tax rate is 30% for companies with a turnover threshold of over $50 million. Their proposed 40% would apply to non-mining companies with over $100 million in net revenue after income tax and a fair return to shareholders. As for mining projects, there'd be a project-by-project assessment. Their 6% billionaire tax would apply only to 122 Australians and raise $40 billion. It only applies to their net wealth, and to avoid them moving assets offshore, the tax would still apply to 90% of their original wealth. And finally, they want multinationals to pay more tax with a 25% minimum global tax rate, and close tax loopholes to raise more revenue. One Nation's tax policy is pretty straightforward and only proposes one slight change. They oppose raising the GST and are against introducing death duties, which is pretty easy because none of the other parties are planning on introducing either of those things. And of course, One Nation wants multinational businesses to pay more in tax, which again is pretty easy because this is a bipartisan thing that all the other parties agree upon. So all in all, their tax policy has no mention of introducing new taxes or cutting current taxes, with the one exception that they want the temporary fuel excise cut to last for 12 months instead of 6. And there you have it. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this has been helpful to you. Please share this because there is like 1 week or less until the federal election. So let's help people be as informed as possible. Check out my other policy comparison episodes so you can better understand who you would like to vote for, and enjoy your democracy sausage. Go vote. You have to. Thank you so much to my supporters on Patreon. You are helping me pay my taxes. And as always, I will see you at the polls.